Hello, and welcome to Digital Artcast, hosted by Neill. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Procreate, the most advanced painting app ever designed for a mobile device. We'll be discussing the app a little more later in the episode, as well as giving away a free copy. But for now, let's get started.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Digital Artcast. This one coming shortly after the last, as they fall in sequence, and we have a returning guest to the podcast, someone who's not been here for a while. Introduce yourself, Mr. Guest.
Hello, my name is Colin.
So Colin,
I am back from the sleep of the long. Okay, I was dead and now I'm alive.
I have no idea what that accent was supposed to be, Colin. That was terrible.
I don't either. I was just like, do something that's not my voice, and might or might not be funny. But yeah.
Anyway, it sounded like it's Mia Mario thing. You getting in the start.
Oh yes, yeah. Italian. They eat the sausages. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, Colin has returned after his long stay of working his ass off at LA Animation. Yep. And he's come to join us to have a little chat about what he's been doing for the last year, which sounds very exciting from what he's told me. And yeah, we're just going to have a general talk today. We haven't done that for a while. It's been mostly guests. The last couple of episodes have obviously been interviews. And
they've all been pretty good, by the way. I've been listening.
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, well, great things happening with the podcast, and thanks everybody for their support. Colin, what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? What have I not been doing? That's always my answer.
There's a lot you've been doing.
Yeah, like work has sort of changed into. Whoa! What the heck is that? I hear an ice cream truck.
Colin's about to be captured by an ice cream truck driver.
Oh my god, that's really loud. My window is closed. Jesus. All right. Anyway,
yeah.
What have I been doing other than being really scared because that ice cream truck is loud as fuck? I have been working my ass off at work. Like it's been really, really fun. I don't actually know if last time I was on I mentioned a guy called Jay Coram.
I don't think so, no.
So he was brought in to work on some of the outsourced work we've been doing for a very large major game studio downtown. Mm-hmm. And he's amazing. So I've been learning from this guy for like the past, 3-4 months. I think he's been here since like late December. Cool. But George brought him in to do storyboards and do illustrations and concept art, but he's primarily a storyboard and comic book artist. Mm-hmm. And he's like 37, so he's really, really experienced. But yeah. I have learned an unbelievable amount from him because like he and I share the office now. Mm-hmm. That we're set up in. So man, like in terms of even just down to drawing technique and style, like becoming looser, figuring out new ways to do characters, and just and sort of composition, stuff like that, and also just learning how to set scenes up with the characters that we have and making them way more interesting. Like instead of just being like, oh yeah, character B needs to go and beat boop some stuff and like do thing. It's like, why is this character in this scene at all? Like what is their motivation? How do the other characters react to them? It's really, really basic stuff, but he's really, really got a good handle on it, and he's almost always able to plus a scene just by doing just basically doing what he does. He's really good at it, and that's sort of all he wants to do, which is, and so he's niched himself, but he's niched himself really well. And it's good because I'm sort of able to ride off his coattails and sort of do all the peripheral stuff or do all the technical stuff while he focuses mostly on characters. And then if we run out of stuff to do, I just start to copy his stuff and just pick up drawing riffs and whatnot. So yeah, that's basically been my work for the past 4 or 5 months. Basically all this year we've been doing storyboards, illustration, concept art. We've started to move into new stuff, but like the running theme with my job at Elliott is it's usually never the same month to month. Like it's always something new. Yeah. It's just amazing experience. It's fantastic. Yeah. And I'll mention this later, sort of after we've heard from Gordon. But I've been a little bit creatively catatonic at home. It's sort of been a downward spiral. I've been able to perform at work, but I've become a little bit too saturated at home and just like, oh God, I did for the last little while I haven't really been able to do much, even down to just studies. Like I used to be able to do like, days upon days of life drawing at home, and now I'm just like, oh, I get through 3 poses and I'm just like, why am I doing this? But I am finally starting to come out of that. I've sort of done some mental gymnastics, and things are getting better now. And I think it's a common thing that happens to a lot of people when they come out of school. You sort of have that motivation of that monkey on your back being like, do good in school, get good job, blah. And I did all that. I did it, reasonably well. But over the past year, I've sort of haven't had that sort of intrinsic motivation that you need. Yeah. And that's just starting to come back now. Like it's a familiar feeling. And I'm like, man, where have you been? But yeah, that's in general what I've been doing.
Cool.
And how about you?
Wow. Well, most people probably know, but it's been a while since we've talked. But after a kind of lengthy process of bugging the guys at Axis, I eventually got offered an internship there.
Hey, whatever it takes. It takes.
Definitely. My persistence was paid off. So Axis, who were technically Axis Animation, for a while are now Axis Studios. So they have kind of changed their whole mantra, where they were basically 3 separate studios. They were Axis Animation, they were Axis VFX, and they were Flaunt. So people who don't know, Axis Animation handle some of the more nitty-gritty zombie sci-fi stuff, so like Dead Island, Warhammer, Halo, and then Axis VFX are a VFX house, so they do production on stuff like Doctor Who, like TV shows down south for BBC, and then Flaunt are a company who focus on more children's orientated or cartoon stuff, like they done Lost in Oz for Amazon, and they done Monster High for Mattel last year, so they animated all of that. And the reason they had the 3 separate companies was because when the managing director was initially going out to shows, he was showing separate slides, or showing, kind of one showreel for like the whole company, where there was like parts that people would look at and go, well, like the cartoon stuff, but I don't like the action stuff, and people like, the action stuff, I don't like the cartoon stuff. So they basically fractured the company into different prospects of work, and now they're trying to re-bring that under one umbrella.
Right. So you're basically a whole bunch of companies under one umbrella, so you can service different kind of industries.
Basically, yeah. So if Mattel come back to us, for work in the future, they would probably come to Flaunt. If 343 wanted to do more work with us, then obviously they'd come to Axis, and then BBC would obviously go to Axis VFX. But they're all under the blanket of Axis Studios. So yeah, that's them just rebranded. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, I mean, and it's a great studio to work at. The guys I've been working under and doing stuff for have been great. Kind of show me the ropes of like how their pipeline works, how their rendering farms work, and how the kind of day-to-day stuff is when they're on schedules. Try to push stuff out for different clients. So there's a whole host of stuff that you learn just by sitting in a studio, just learning how people interact with each other, how they catch up in meetings, how they have their stand-ups and they talk about their different daily tasks and stuff. So yeah, like a ton of stuff that you just wouldn't get with not being in a studio. If you're trying to do any kind of freelance stuff, there's an element to freelance, but studio work has its, especially like animation houses, they have a particular way of working, so probably similar to a lot of the George Elliott stuff. Axis.
Yeah, it's a different industry, but it seems like it's a very similar kind of setup and process. Like it's a studio that takes on work from other studios, so it's technically boutique, but because of that, there's usually always work coming in. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. They're constantly pitching for. There's a lot of stuff they're looking to work on. All hush hush, obviously, but they try to fill or take on as much work as they possibly can to try and keep the studio pushing forward, because they've just recently increased very dramatically, took on a lot of different people, they've opened a new office, so they're growing exponentially since they started 10 years ago, from some of their first work they done way back. I mean, like one of the things they done years and years ago that people still talk about to this day was the original Dead Island trailer.
Yep.
Yeah, which is one of their biggest things that they've done.
That's in like top 10 lists of best game trailer ever.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like they've done, and even last year they done the Dead Island 2 trailer, the one that was revealed at E3, which was the guy jogging down the street and the chaos behind him and him slowly turning into a zombie. Yeah. So that was one of their final moments. And of course they done the Warhammer Dawn of War trailer last year for E3 as well.
Which was also badass.
Yeah.
Some people would argue it's the best part of the game. I actually didn't mind the game itself, but
Yeah.
that trailer was, it's almost kind of it's sort of in their style too, like they're sort of their type of storytelling.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big project for them. But they've tackled so many, like, stuff you didn't even think about. And then the first Halo 5 reveal, I think they done, the one where the Chief's walking through the desert with the hood thing on, and the big robot thing comes out of the sand, and people...
Oh,
like,
yeah, the thing that they should have just totally based the whole game around, and then
Yeah.
they just forgot about.
yeah, basically. So that was an Access project, so they done that.
That's so cool. Holy shit.
Yeah, so...
Man, they worked on, like, all the things I like.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even one of the best ones I saw before I joined there was the Halo 5 Guardians, the initial sequence where they jump out the back of the Pelican and then, like, run down the hill, and, like, there's this whole sequence of them, like, the Spartans, like, shooting people and killing things.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was all them, so...
That was
yeah.
what sold everybody on that game, and then, the game came out and people had opinions, but that
Yeah.
trailer alone was like, that trailer
Yeah.
was quite good.
Yeah, and it's awesome though, again, because you get to go behind the scenes and see how they used the initial mocap stuff to plot and the kind of movements of the guys and how they animated that, and working with the guys over at D43. So yeah, it was
How much
awesome.
work you have to do, like, to that mocap to make it sort of, usable for the final.
Yeah, definitely. Taking the raw data and then transferring it into action sequences. But yeah, so it's been great. I've learned so much, and
That's what happens when you go to a studio. Like, as soon as you're in there, and as long as you're sort of, even vaguely involved in production or,
Yeah.
Around it, like, you're going to learn stuff no matter what.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been great. Just getting to watch people work. Even I've not been doing as much art-related tasks. It was more initially admin and running for the studio to help with the studio team. So help them kind of on day-to-day on projects. Helping
Like
people.
project management, pipelining and whatnot.
No, like project management. Mostly just helping, with simple stuff like emails and booking flights and organising stuff for festivals, and helping them, like, with some of their marketing stuff, and job postings and recruitment. So again, more of that side of admin recruitment. But while I was there, while I'm there, I can still interact with the artists that work there and see the work they're producing, and get involved in the production of how they're handling projects and stuff. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah, and they also have a showcase thing, like, at the end it's like every 4 weeks, so at the end of the month they have a showcase where they sit down and they talk about all the stuff they're working on, and then they have a wee showcase about, like, how far they've got and what they've actually produced. And that was just a Friday past there, and it was great just to see all the work in the different parts of the studio that are taking place, because obviously sometimes when you're stuck in kind of on one project or one department, you don't get to see, like, what else the studio is working on. So it's been good to catch up and see what everybody's been doing. So plus it was free beer, so you get
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Say no more. Jesus.
So yeah, that was cool. So yeah, I've been busting my hump off at Axis since February. Yeah, and
Nice.
and then my internship was due to kind of finish towards the end of April, but when I spoke to the woman I'm working for just now, she was quite happy for me to keep coming in over the summer and getting more experience. So I'm
Fuck yeah! Making a good impression.
yeah, quite happy with that. So yeah, it's been good. So yeah, that's been me for the last 3 months anyway. Yeah, so I mean, like, with Elliot Animation, obviously now working with this other studio. Have you been doing anything interesting freelance wise, or?
Yeah, last year this was the last big thing that I managed to get through before my big burnout phase.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start calling it that. But
Yeah.
so I was contacted by a guy from Australia who I don't quote me on this. I'm still not entirely sure what his relationship was, but I think he ran one of the Hearthstone leagues down there in Australia, like one of the official ones. And he was in contact, I think, with a few people from Blizzard, and he had an idea for an expansion for the game. And I was just like, oh, cool. So what do you want me for? He's like, well, can you do all the art for this proposed expansion that I want to pitch to them, and hopefully get in front of them, and maybe even get in the game somehow. Maybe not with my drawings, but at least the idea. And so I was like, cool, yeah. How much art do you need? He's like, well, I need key art, I need like a paint over of like a game board. I need a card back. I need a card pack. I need a logo design done. And I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of
But
work.
the good thing was this guy was actually able to pay me quite well, which like
Cool.
up until that point I was just like, is this guy legit? You know,
Yeah.
like what's going on here? But as soon as he was just like, I'm going to pay you really well, I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really interesting project because like I'm definitely a fan of Warcraft. I don't have a heck of a lot of experience playing the MMO, although I did play the strategy games way back in the day. Like
Yeah.
I put an embarrassing amount of hours into Warcraft 3.
Man. Yeah, definitely.
But I still don't understand why people, like, some people don't like that game, and I'm just like, that's what every 3D, you know, like Dawn of War, Company of Heroes strategy game is kind of based on.
Yeah.
So, like, what the hell? Anyway.
Yeah.
But it was a really fun project. Like, I think we started off with the card pack and the card back for you know, a whole bunch of new cards that would theoretically come out with this expansion.
Yeah.
And that went really well. And then I did a paint over of the game board. The whole thing was it was based on sort of like an area from World of Warcraft called Caverns of Time. And he actually didn't expect me to go and watch an entire, you know, let's play of this area and all of the dungeons and quests, you know, that take place there, but I did, so I had a decent understanding of, you know, what the general feel and theme of this thing was. So I did that, and he was just like, whoa, cool. And I was sort of on the same page at that, you know, after that point of, you know, what it was. And then I took a short break because I had some other freelance stuff come up, which also went pretty well.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I did like this huge, you know, massive key art painting with a whole bunch of Warcraft characters. There was Thrall, there was Manaroth, there was 3 or 4 others, and it was sort of like also storytelling. Like the 2 big dragons of this area have like mind controlled some, you know, classic Warcraft heroes and making them fight each other. That was kind of the story of this particular expansion. But that was really awesome. And I don't know if it's gotten in front of the guys he knows at Blizzard yet, but hopefully it has. He had he was working on a write-up sort of the entire thing to submit along with all the art, and so I mean, hopefully it's big and impressive enough to sort of catch their eye and be like, hey, maybe let's make yet another expansion for Hearthstone, because they've been coming out with those like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's probably getting to the point, kind of similar to Overwatch, where they're trying to push out new content more or less every month. But
Yeah.
I know the Hearthstone sometimes comes in kind of quarters or you know, thirds. So it depends, you know, like 3 or 4 times of the year they'll launch a new kind of season. I know they just came into one just now, which I can't remember. It's something to do with dinosaurs, but yeah, basically, yeah, they've changed that again. But the Overwatch team are probably the most worked one, because they try to push something every month. And then Heroes is going into 2.0, Heroes of the Storm, so that's like all brand
Yeah,
new stuff.
like they're really. I'm not gonna say milk, because like obviously their games are quite high quality, and they really want to do well with them, but they're really pushing them. And there's a lot of crossover going on between their universes now, which is great, because like all of the art styles, with the exception of maybe Diablo, you know, fit really, really well in together. Like Overwatch, StarCraft and Warcraft especially. I'm really, really hoping they do something with StarCraft. Like that's sort of been the sadly neglected one right now, and that is obviously my favorite, and with probably Overwatch coming in like a close second. And I'm just like, do something with StarCraft, please.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, even recently, because Heroes of the Storm, I think they just released some skins because Diva came into the game, and one of her skins is the same color scheme that makes her look like the chick from Evangelion, the red Eve thing. And I was like, holy shit. And then they've got like a whole cross promotion thing. Like, if you played so many games in Heroes of the Storm, you got a Diva unlock skin and Overwatch, and then there was the Genji thing as well. So yeah, they have a good cross platform thing where they try to mix the games in amongst each other. So
yeah, it's really it's like, for people that play a lot of those of those games, it's really good incentive to, like, if you're a big Overwatch fan but you haven't played a lot of Heroes of the Storm, you might wanna, because like then you can get more shit for Overwatch. Like, it's actually a really, really well thought out marketing strategy.
yeah, definitely. And then it also unlock stuff in Heroes as well. And then they recently just had the push as well, where when Heroes 2.0 launched, if you logged in straight after the launch, you got 20 heroes for free, which is like a shitload of heroes. So
that's a lot, considering there's only like 50 or 60 in the game. That's like a third of like stuff that you would have to pay for just unlocked right there.
Basically. So that was really cool. So yeah, no, I'm really impressed with Blizzard recently. They've been making some massive strides into pushing their content further and further. But I think Heroes and Overwatch have been a big push, because with a micromanagement scheme they have set up for loot crate skins and other cosmetic stuff, that probably is their biggest moneymaker. I mean, there was a statistic of something like loot crates opened in the last update they had for Overwatch, which was the oh god, I forget. It was the Omni Crisis or something like that. It was where the
Oh yeah. I want to see more of that shit. Like really.
Yeah.
They need to do more story stuff with that universe because like you can tell it's there, but they just I don't know what their plan is with that. You know.
Well, like it is there because if you watch the documentary about they took on the project where they're making the MMO and then that basically fell apart. I think they have a lot of stuff written already for that. That's going to fall into line with Overwatch. So yeah, it's definitely going there. But even then, I was saying, even just for that small, I think 2-3 week event, it was something like 815 million loot crates were opened.
Whoa!
Yeah, and if you think of that, money wise per crate, I mean that's a shit ton of money. That's a lot of cash.
Even if people are cashing in like a coupon every now and then, or like a promo code or something, like that's. They're making bank, and I think and this is just a theory, but what may have happened with Overwatch is with that MMO crash, I'm assuming they were able to save some of the story stuff for that, but maybe, in order to prove that the game was still a viable thing, they may have been forced just to come up with a multiplayer component and kind of nix the story for a while, similar to how Battlefront was handled. Yeah. And then maybe sometime in the future, like how Battlefront is being handled, they might come in and be like, here's like a kick-ass story thing that you guys were asking for and wanted from this thing because it's awesome. And then, 4 years later, everyone's happy.
Yeah, basically. And then, Jeff Kaplan's been one of the driving forces behind the game, who came originally from designing Dungeons and Warcraft. And, he, I think, since Chris left, has been, trying to hold the reins of the whole company since, Overwatch is like their baby now. It's the biggest pusher for cash and for income and for players. And, they've just capped, they've just hit, over 30 million players. So, yeah. They're 3 times now, obviously, what Warcraft was, but obviously Warcraft is
Warcraft was in the day, and that was at the time, that was the biggest thing ever.
Oh yeah, because their biggest, I think at their peak, 10 million was their biggest player base, and for 3 times that in Overwatch, constantly playing, it's a big deal, and
especially because it's only a multiplayer game, and there's 15 heroes, and the game itself is fantastic, but really the way they've been handling the marketing is. I can point to that and say that's why.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely it's more accessible for everybody to jump into, and it's got a greater, more expandable universe, and the heroes are all identifiable, and then individuals, so you can pick your own one and have a favorite, and the loot crate system, the cosmetic stuff, the events, the competitive.
They're basically laying the groundwork for if you want something to be popular, do this.
Yeah, basically. I mean, and MOBAs have been such a big thing in the last couple of years that they were just, a lot of people say, they ripped off Team Fortress 2, and I'm like, well, Team Fortress 2 ripped off stuff from Counter-Strike, and then Counter-Strike ripped off for this and that. So, I mean, everybody copies everybody, but I think Overwatch... I
would call it more of just the next iteration of something, and more modernized and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, Blizzard have that, I don't know how to describe it, but they have that kind of Disney vibe where it's so family friendly and everybody can get behind it and everybody can incorporate it into the game because it's all identifiable. It's and the way the stuff's drawn, obviously, as well, it's very cartoony, it's very stylized.
Yeah, you know what, actually, I may have even mentioned this on the podcast before, or I was talking with someone else about this, but maybe on the podcast. Yeah. I remember people online were being like, oh yeah, they ripped off Team Fortress because it's also cartoony, and I'm just well, actually, Team Fortress 2 is based on Golden Age illustration, and Overwatch, if you know anything about art at all, you would know that it's based on original Street Fighter 2D comic stuff. It's based on something totally different. And superficially they're both cartoony, but if you look for longer than 5 seconds, you'll recognize that they're vastly different.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because the base game initially was supposed to be Titan, and then when that fell through, the shooting mechanic, MOBA stuff was the backup basically. But the whole game design just made everything work, and the fact that it does stuff like it forces teamwork constantly. There's no team deathmatch. There's no kill count. It's all objective based gameplays. So you're either pushing the cart or taking objective points or holding positions. So it's all stuff that forces you to work together and not focus on just 1 or 2 people. So I mean,
getting the kill streaks in the AC-130.
Oh god, I get the twitching every time I hear that kind of stuff. So yeah. So the Overwatch project was awesome anyway. I take it. Another Overwatch. The Hearthstone. There we go.
Yeah,
Got it right.
yeah. The Hearthstone thing, it ended really well. Like I got paid, it was all good. I haven't heard much since then, and it's been a while since it was completed. But yeah, like it was fun. It was. I guess I'd call it my first solid illustration freelance project. And actually, there was an NDA on it. I wasn't able to show it until like really late April, which is the only reason that I posted it recently. But yeah, it was super fun. It was really legit. It turned out really well, and I was happy with it.
And are you still producing content with 3D Motif as well? Is that still something you want to do? Or
they offered me another tutorial, and sort of the way they do things is as they become more familiar with authors, they start to pay them more for each module.
Yeah.
So that is probably going to be coming up in the future fairly soon for me. Like it's basically up to me to go to them and be like, okay, let's do another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the next one for me, I actually don't know what the next one's going to be in terms of like, what it is. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's more up to them. Mm-hmm. But that's definitely in the cards.
Yeah, cool. Oh, well, there you go. So, I mean, so you've done freelance, you've done George Eliot, and then you were saying, obviously, through the very productive year you've had, you basically burnt out your system and were running on fumes.
I think to call it burnout and to call it I called it burnout. I called it a nervous breakdown. That's kind of a disservice to both of those things. Like I'm not really burned out. Yeah. It's more like I'm not lethargic. I can work out. In fact, workouts are the only thing that get me through the day. Like I'm looking towards the next workout being like, okay, let's go, let's do it. But that's actually how I control, what little anxiety and possibly depression I have. But like, you go to a workout and you burn through so much energy that you don't even have the energy to feel those things, and then everything's cool, and like your body thanks you, and your heart thanks you too. But yeah, I think I'd call it more creative burnout rather than just overall body shutting down, can't do it. Like it's more internal, mental kind of thing. Yeah. And like I'm sure this story is familiar to many people because as I was telling Gordon earlier, I really didn't know what this was. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't think anyone else had it, even though in the back of my mind, the rational part of my brain says this is probably something most, if not all, artists go through after school, if you even go to school. And then, of course, someone we've had on the podcast before, I interviewed him, Matt Rhodes. I was watching a concept art sort of talk video that he was doing. He went back to his old school. And like all the stuff he was saying was amazing. He was championing storytelling as the human superpower and all that stuff. It was really interesting. We should link it in the in the description of this podcast. But something he said right at the end, it just like I sat up straight and I was like, whoa, rewind that part. I just I watched it 3 or 4 times through because it was a really short section, but the end of his talk was just entitled "A Warning." This is something that might happen to you. It may have already happened to you. And the words he was using and even just down to the detail, line for line, it was exactly what I was going through, like right at that second. And even now that as I'm coming out of it, he called it creative catatonia. Like he was able to perform at work because that's kind of the thin red line you don't cross. Like you either perform at work or you get out, like you got to go there and do your work. You got to draw, otherwise you're done. But at home, he was just like, I can't. I think this happened about 5 years ago for him, but I don't know how long it was, but it was a few weeks, maybe even a few months that he just couldn't do stuff. Yeah. And like he was asking his artist friends, like what the hell's wrong with me? Why can't I draw? He was even saying like, when he could draw, he'd get halfway through an like a concept or an illustration or like a comic page or something. Yeah. And then he'd think of 10 other artists that he knew of, he knows their work, who could do this thing that he was drawing way better than him. And that just, of course, that shut him down as well. Yeah. And like this, like, I mean, I'm sure it was relatable for me because I do the same thing, but this is relatable for probably a lot of people. Yeah. And so I call it creative catatonia. I'm ripping that off directly from him. And his solution to the problem actually came from his wife, which should have been the first person he asked because your life partner probably knows you best. Yeah. And he asked her, and her immediate answer was, "You're oversaturated. Like like this. It's obvious what's happened to you." Yeah. And he was just like, "Oh. What the shit does that mean?" And she was just like, "Do other stuff. You have to do other stuff." So they ended up going on like a husband and wife retreat, a hike for a couple of days. he started, branching out, doing other stuff other than drawing. I mean, he'd obviously been doing that stuff before, but he really focused on it. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. Like as of like a couple of days ago, just learn guitar, start YouTube channel, sort of separate from this one, my own personal thing where I do Let's Plays or, draw, like art stuff or vlogs or just something other than just sitting down and forcing myself to draw and like uninstalling all my games and being like, no, you must do this. Cause like, that's just not a cool way to treat yourself, going about it all wrong. And so, I'm just with that internal mind shift. Thank you so much, Matt Rhodes, for pulling me out of that nosedive, because it's got a lot better. And like sort of nosedive over. I'm crawling out of the pit now.
No, I think it's it really comes down to what I've said about a lot of people I've met, and a lot of my kind of mantra of life is that life is all about balance, and the less equilibrium you have within your daily structure, then the harder it is to keep yourself motivated, keep yourself going. I definitely think that, you don't need to sit for 10 hours a day and draw, or 10 hours a day and play games, but there has to be, an in-between, basically.
You got to have variety. You can't just do one thing.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to try and find something that keeps you going outside of your art, because I know guys in the industry who, as soon as they get home, they don't draw, they don't do any kind of studies or anything. They just they chill, or they go hiking, or they watch a film. They just try to switch their brain off for the day and come back to the next day fresh. So everybody's got a different process for it. There are some people who can come home and do stuff at night, but it just depends.
That was actually what was really killing me, because one of the worst things to do when you're in the state that I was in was like scroll through Instagram or go on like a Facebook art group, because you look at all these people who are doing stuff that it clearly isn't for a project, like it's on their own time, and I'm just like, how the fuck are these people finding the motivation to do this, or even the discipline? Like I'm a big motivation discipline over motivation guy, but I was sort of in a place where I was just like, I don't know, like how are these people doing this? Like, forget about the quality, just how are you even forcing yourself to do this? And I think just like the mindset of that kind of thinking is all wrong. They're not forcing themselves to do it. They're clearly in a place of, as you say, good balance, where they've sort of done all their other stuff and they're like, okay, cool, time to draw, and then they just draw something, and it just flows out of them. And I'm kind of one of those people where I'm really, really project oriented. Like if I do something, it's got to be for something, even if it's bullshit,
Yeah, basically.
And so for example, like whenever I play video games, it's usually kind of a guilt trip the whole time. Like, and it actually eats into the fun of playing video games. And so I have jumped through a whole bunch of mental gymnastics now, where once I have my YouTube channel set up, if I play a game, it gets turned into a Let's Play. So like I'm still spending the time on games, something I like doing, but it's, quote unquote for something, so I don't feel nearly as guilty. And there you go. Like sometimes you just got to bullshit yourself into, having fun, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would definitely say...
Maybe I'm just really, really overthinking it, but that's kind of me. That's my personality, so... Ugh.
I think a lot of the people I've met in this industry...
are the same way.
Basically, and a lot of overthinkers, a lot of people who... think about the worst case situation all at the time, or are very down on themselves because of their artwork. I've said it before a lot of times on my personal Facebook, where people can see, because there's a lot of artists on my Facebook, and I talk about how it's such an epidemic with this industry, where just like people are constantly down on themselves, are constantly comparing themselves to everybody else, are constantly never satisfied with their work, are constantly thinking they can do better, who don't want to, have fun in an essence because they feel like it's a guilty pleasure, because, they should be doing work.
It's such an easy trap to fall into. Like you don't even know it's happening. It feels like a natural thought that's going through your head, which is actually horribly toxic, and you shouldn't be thinking that. Like, I think one of the big takeaways from this is it's like recognizing that you're going a bit insane is the first step to pulling yourself out of it. So once you kind of once you know what you're going through, and you're like, okay, other people have dealt with this before, this isn't even that dissimilar to what every other artist has felt. Your problems are not actually that unique, and fucking get over it and move on and start to fix it. Don't just sit there and wallow.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's definitely, even some of the bigger guys I've seen, I don't want to obviously name names, but there's people I look up to or people I know who are very big artists. I have seen, because I'm lucky enough to have them on Facebook, and they've talked openly about problems they're having with depression, anxiety, or just motivation just not to work. And so from people like at my level all the way up to people who are industry leading artists, everybody experiences it because we're all human at the end of the day. We all,
unfortunately.
Yeah. There's no androids kicking about just now that are making artwork, but
you know what? Being human is also one of the best things ever because that's all we know.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I mean, like, it would definitely be a thing. I would say that there's got to be, with that I've learned, there's got to be balance. You don't kill yourself doing work. You don't kill yourself doing nothing.
And also, the thing about balance is, like, balance is, like, overall a rule that everyone should probably at least consider, but it's different for everybody. Like, people like different things. People have different energy levels.
Yeah.
People just gravitate naturally towards one thing or the other. So, just like when if you're going through something like this, I'm talking to you, listener, instead of you, Gordon. But like, just when we say balance, we don't actually mean anything specific. It's got to be something that you have to figure out on your own, and like, that's just kind of the way life is overall.
I think it's just a thing where, especially a lot of the guys I'm speaking with, or the guys I know in the industry, because the industry is so new. You're dealing with guys in their late 20s, their early 30s, and it's just about identification as a person. I think a lot of people are just discovering who they are.
I am not my work. I am not the amount of likes I get on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. It's like the Fight Club. You're not how much money you have in the bank, or the contents of your wallet. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like over dramatized, but the message is actually pretty true.
Yeah. So it's just that it's in essence because I think a lot of art has become so commercial and so entertainment based that when artists became artists back in the day, they would suffer for their art because it was their artwork. But now we're suffering for other people because we're part of a bigger, cog in, a smaller cog in a bigger wheel. So as much as you do art, you're always doing it for somebody else, and it's not actually your vision, which again comes back for the a millionth time about personal projects and how people always really should try and have one, because then that artwork is yours, it's for your project, it's not anybody else's. So
you got to be careful with it, make sure no one steals your IP. But yeah, like I can say from experience, whenever I'm working on my own thing and I have enough time to do it and I have the motivation to do it just because like it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I might be motivated by more fear or terror for whole other reasons, but it's actually not that hard to sit down and just friggin' do it. Like, I've done it before, but like you basically just have to figure out, why you're doing what you're doing, what it's for, I guess in my case anyway, and then do some mental gymnastics and just BS your way into doing it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's just a way to do it, and it doesn't have to be a computer. You can be sitting with a sketch pad in the middle of a field. You can be sitting, working on a tablet or something like that. And the struggle doesn't have to come by sitting behind the computer every day. Get outside, get some fresh air, walk amongst nature.
Especially because your brain processes and percolates ideas way better when you're outside, you're getting exercise, you're doing something that has nothing to do with whatever you're stressing over. Like, your brain will come up with good shit, provided you're like you sort of exercised your creative muscles enough to allow yourself to do that. Like, that stuff is more important than I realized, and a lot of people probably realize.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're thinking about going outside and you happen to have an iPad or some kind of mobile device,
that is the most beautiful segue. Oh, awesome.
It's like I had that planned or something. Yeah. So you could be using Procreate.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was. Oh, my respect level for you has gone up a little bit. Beautiful.
So, with a kind of recurring theme now in these episodes, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsor on Digital Artcast, which is Procreate. Procreate, if you don't know, it's an Apple design award-winning digital painting and illustration solution, and it's mostly, or exclusively, for iOS. So Procreate allows you to create professional-grade artwork wherever you are, with advanced dual texture brush engine, a robust layering system, a groundbreaking canvas solution, and it's all for $5.99. So that's obviously in pounds across the UK, but I think it's kind of similar in the States and Canada. You can find Procreate through the App Store on your iPad, or you can go to procreate.com. Procreate, obviously, guys have probably already heard or have announced that Procreate is now sponsoring the podcast. So thanks to the Procreate team for doing that for us. It's great to be working with them. So I mean, Procreate, Colin, you've used it sparingly, but you did say
very briefly, but in that time it made an impression, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you were saying at the time also it was one of the Buzzard guys who'd actually showed you the app. Was it John?
Yeah. It was. I think it was John Polidoro. I was at Edge Control. He basically just left his iPad on the table. He's like, "Yep, go for it."
and Procreate, for me, has a ton of stuff that I've been using since I kind of downloaded the app about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I think the good thing about Procreate is that it kind of removes the need sometimes for a keyboard, because obviously with a lot of painting-based apps that you'll use, you'll need your keyboard shortcuts at the side.
Specifically one keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, to undo.
That keyboard shortcut.
Which on Procreate is great as well, actually, because you just tap with two fingers and it undoes the last move you made. So it's even more intuitive. You're not actually pressing a key. You can go from physically holding your stylus to just tapping two fingers on the screen and going back. So
that's actually what really sort of drew me in. Like the other time I had the opportunity just to use it. It wasn't on JP's iPad. This was a little bit later. I can't remember whose device I was using.
Yeah.
But like I actually figured that out on my own, because I was tapping it, because I was just like, oh my god, this is so awesome. And then a line disappeared and I was just like, whoa, holy crap, this is like the future or something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like some kind
and it also has that really awesome sort of like recording, and sort of you can like draw a thing and then it records it, and then you can post it as like a video or a GIF. That's also really cool.
Yeah, basically, so you can time lapse the whole thing and then push it
back
out.
It, yeah.
Yeah, but you can actually record up to 4K. So like the tablet itself like goes well beyond your 1080p settings or 720 or whatever. You can record the whole video in 4K if you want to push it back to a high resolution screen, or whatever you want to do later with it. But yeah, that was amazing for me. Even their canvas setting, the fact that you can get 4K canvases, but you can actually also get 16K canvases. So it's
Jesus.
like, yeah. So I mean, it's.
I'm surprised it doesn't leave the iPad in like just a smoking pile on the floor. Holy crap!
Pretty much, man. And like, I mean, the fun thing that they're working on just now, or that they have done recently, is apart from exporting as just a kind of high resolution JPEG, you can actually export your stuff as PSTs as well, and like PNGs, multi-layer PDF files. So you can take your initial ideas and sketches into another program, whether it be Photoshop or Illustrator or anything else. And yeah, I mean, it comes packed with 128 brushes. It has continuous autosave, so you never lose your work. And then obviously,
it's just basically better in every way than Photoshop.
Yeah,
I mean, it loses. I'm not even sure if it loses anything, to be completely honest. Like,
yeah,
like it's just. Yeah. It's Photoshop without a keyboard, and it's portable, and it's
it's really good. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously Photoshop is a powerhouse and it has its uses for everyday stuff. It's an industry standard, but
for sure.
I think
there are also things I like. For example, does Procreate have like an animation timeline?
I think they have, or they are building some, or might be. I don't know. I can't speak for the company.
Of course they are.
Yeah. But I mean, they might be at one point. But I mean, like, the things they have just now make it just such a robust app. It's not like any typical mobile studio where you're sacrificing a lot of stuff because it's on a mobile tablet. Like it is, and it's still a powerhouse.
It's almost a boon to it. It almost makes it better. So it's really well built for what the platform it's on.
Yeah. I mean, even you look at guys like Nikolai Lockerstein, who have basically made their whole...
I was about to mention him. Yeah, like he's built his whole career using this one program.
App. Yeah, and he was using it before the iPad Pro or the Apple Pencil came along. So yeah, I mean, like it's just a powerhouse for.
It was good even before you had those peripherals that made it arguably better. But I mean, like it's been good since the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've just went from kind of stride to stride, and from power to power. I think it's such a commonplace now. People know about Procreate because it is such a powerful tool, and people obviously have got such good things to say it. So I mean, it's just it's great. Yeah. So
if you take anything from our spiel, at least try it. Like even if you can't get your hands on it yourself, like try it, and it'll probably just sell itself to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about trying it, Colin. We have a great offer for our listeners because Procreate have gave us a free code to give away to a lucky person on YouTube who iTunes or SoundCloud, whoever wants to, whatever platform you're listening from. There is an opportunity to win a code. And it will probably be through, I'm not 100% at this, but I think what we'll do is we'll put the competition through YouTube, and then we'll get somebody to like and subscribe to the video and leave a comment, and I will pick a random winner, and I will contact you within maybe 5 or 6 days of the podcast going live. So yeah, guys, just like and subscribe to this video, and then leave a comment below on why you think you should have a free code for Procreate, and then I will contact you ASAP.
That sounds like a freaking great deal to me.
Yeah, free copy of Procreate. So yeah, thanks again to Procreate for sponsoring us, and if you want to find out more about the app, you can go to procreate.art, and you can check out their homepage and all the marvelous things that Procreate has to offer. So yeah.
Maybe we should like leave a space. Leave some audio space.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to go over in this particular podcast?
I think we could maybe do 10 more minutes on like what we're planning forward.
That'd actually be pretty good. Like five-ish for me, 5-ish for you. And
yeah.
Sort of what we're going to be getting into, and maybe you can be like, what the next podcast is going to be, or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So Colin, after that awesome ad read, what is your plans moving forward with Elliot, with freelance, with art in general, and yourself? What's your next month looking like at least?
So yeah, my next month is actually going to be pretty crazy because I got a camcorder. I've been doing a bit of vlogging. I actually went to an event today called TCAP, which is the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, just sort of like to test out my camera, test out the audio, test out the video, sort of figure out exactly how do vlog, how to go on adventure and document it.
Yeah.
So that's all for my new YouTube channel, which it's really really up in the air. I don't entirely know what it's going to be yet. I still haven't done like a sort of channel intro or trailer, just explaining to people what the hell I'm going to be doing. But yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to record my screen so I can both do art demos or just like draw something and talk, as well as do Let's Plays. I think my first game I play is probably going to be Prey because it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
One thing I really want to focus on with the channel is I love old games, but just in the phase where it's growing and where I want to sort of gather people and I guess form a community, probably play recent games or games that are currently really, really awesome and out there. Yeah. And if it's a game like Pokemon Go, for example, if the next iteration of that comes out, then, combine Let's Play with vlog and go out with a friend and just, catch Pokemon or do whatever, like augmented reality thing happens to be in the game. So there's lots of stuff that you can do with the YouTube channel, but it is a lot of figuring out. It's a lot of, and not only figuring out the technical side, but what's sort of the image and persona that you want to project to people, and what, I don't want to play a character, but I do sort of need to get comfortable in front of a camera and all that stuff. It's just a lot of stumbling and being like, holy shit, what's going on? It's also a lot of ripping off other YouTubers who do it really well. I've been looking at a lot of Jake Parker's videos, a lot of Casey Neistat, a lot of even the Outside Xbox and Outside Extra guys. They do sort of that entertainment comedy video format really really well. Yeah. So steal shamelessly, but steal from a lot of different people, so you're not just becoming a ripoff of one thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And other than that, though, after TCAF, I've become really, really inspired to finally start to kick my own stuff back into gear. Yeah. So as long as I don't burn myself out at home, I'm gonna be doing a lot of that as well, which is good because it just feeds directly into the YouTube channel. Yeah. And maybe go out in the city and start to do a lot more stuff with friends. Not that I've really been neglecting that. We actually have been doing a lot of stuff just sort of outside my house, outside the art world. Yeah. But even more of that, like we were talking about, finding a better balance, don't stop exercising, don't stop eating well, all that stuff is good and fine. But just, branching out, doing different stuff, and hopefully, just remaining mindful of maintaining that balance because otherwise, I'll be in the same state that I was a few weeks ago where I was just like, oh, I can't draw. So yeah, that's what I got going on in the next month or two. Just lots of figuring out, stumbling around, hopefully not breaking my camcorder. How about you?
Kind of a low period, but a quieter period for me just now because university just wrapped. So
that's right. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, my handings are just done. So, I'm going back in September for my honours. But my third year's done, so I have my degree. So I've got the hardest bit done. But
got the piece of paper.
Yeah, got the piece of paper. So I'm just focusing on Access just now. I'm in there 2 days a week. One day where I'm doing tasks for the studio team, and the second day I've kind of wrangled an art day, so I get to go in there and sketch and draw and paint and stuff amongst the other guys in the studio, which is kind of cool because it means that I've got a more creative atmosphere, I think, when I'm in there. So it will inspire me to do better work, I hope.
It'll inspire you, it'll motivate you, and you'll also just learn by osmosis too.
Yeah, definitely. Just in there just 2 days a week, and then trying to do some tutorials over summer, get a lot better, so that'll go back.
3D or 2D? What are you going to focus on?
Well, 2D is my main thing that I want to do, but 3D obviously I need to try and build up as well because my fourth year will be dominated by the 3D side of it. But obviously now with concept and with a lot of different matte paint stuff, 3D plays into a lot of stuff because obviously
it's almost kind of the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even if it's only the start of the process, like
yeah,
you don't got to worry about perspective if you got like an AutoCAD sort of whatever thing, and then you just start to slap stuff over top.
Yeah, even with Maya, you can build a scene, in about 10-15 minutes and fire some basic textures and lighting, and then you're good to go
from there.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so. Kind of both, but I'm putting more emphasis on 2D. I've been doing a lot of Scott Robertson stuff again, going through his book, and then a lot of Jake Parker stuff, and then a lot of Rake stuff, and Jesus, John Paul Dory, a lot of Mark Burnett stuff. So yeah, just trying to learn as much as I can, as quick as I can, basically, until I go back in September, and then I'm hoping by next April, the plan is obviously to try and get out of university and then possibly go work at Axis. I don't know, that'll be a kind of a long shot to see if I can land straight from university into there because it's such a big shit.
Well, it's a much shorter shot than like, going to another cold studio where you've never been before. Like you've at least formed relationships with people at Axis, and you might be able to wrangle a job just because of what you've done up until now. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that's the case, but I still have to prove myself art-wise. If I'm wanting an art-related job anyway, and my portfolio needs to be better. So yeah, so that's the summer plan is basically. So basically, what you were doing at your third year internship, where you were at an internship, you were over summer, you were going from third year to fourth year, and you were, trying to make your style and find your identity as an artist. So
yeah, which is still ongoing, but actually, yeah, that 30, it does sound kind of similar because like at the internship, I'd go paint for 8 hours, come home, and then just work on sort of concept or preparatory stuff for fourth year.
Yeah,
and so it was like that's kind of the state that I wanted to be in a little while ago, but no, I can't maintain that anymore. But yeah, like. If you spend the whole summer, going to work, do art, come home, do more art, or probably more learning art. But even so, just that's a really really sort of good way to spend a summer. As long as again you maintain the balance we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I've just invested in a new bike, so I'm going to be out more and more. And I've been doing a thing across here. I think it's actually worldwide, but we do have it in Scotland. It's called Slimming World. So it's that kind of diet based thing. So. I've managed to shift a couple of stone off that already, so fitting better into my clothes, looking a bit more healthy, so the bike has come along at a good time, where it's summer, the weather's quite decent, so I'm going to be getting out and hitting a couple of trails and just trying to get fitter. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's very good. And yeah, that'll be me till summer. And of course I am hitting industry workshops in September.
Fucking sweet. Oh shit. Tickets for that. Are they still on sale?
I think so. I'll need to double check with you. I'll maybe get a hold of my pal Daniel and ask him what's happening, and then we'll find out. Because if you get across, that'd be cool. Actually, yeah,
that would be amazing. Because it's been on my list, but I'm just you just reminded me of it now. I'm like I'm almost like, oh god, shit, am I too late?
No, it's in September, so I think there is still tickets. So I'll keep you informed. But yeah, guys, if you haven't checked that out, check out Industry Workshops in London.
And if you're in Canada, in Toronto, like if you can get there, obviously Edge Control too, and Schoolism, because that's just all over the world.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on over the summer, especially in the States and Canada. But I think Industry Workshops one of the rare ones that happens in the UK because there's only a few ones that are aimed more at concept, and that's one of them. So, and there's going to be some big speakers this year at this one. So that will be quite awesome. And I'm still thinking about how I'm going to work this out, but I might be doing some live interviews at industry workshops. That is,
nice.
That's the plan anyway. So yeah. Anyway, okay, guys, that's been awesome. Thank you very much, Colin, for joining me again.
Woo! No problem.
Yeah. And yeah, stay tuned, guys. We have more awesome episodes coming up, including some really epic interviews. Actually, some really good ones we've got planned. Again, check out Procreate, and thanks again for their sponsor. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.